Good morning and welcome to the Savi Sands. It's a beautiful, crisp and cool morning. No clouds in the sky, the sun's just risen up over the horizon, and we've got some really great prospects this morning. As we started to wake up at around 5 a.m, we heard, well, some guys maybe heard the lions calling while they were asleep, but I'm a very deep sleeper, so I only heard them calling as soon as I woke up, and they sounded quite close to us. So Brent and Andrew have headed out in the direction of the audio that we heard, and Brent's found the tracks of these lions and he's busy following up on them, and I've headed in the opposite direction, which is not an easy thing to do when you hear lions roaring, but also heading towards another big cat, which is a female leopard called Karula, and we saw her last night. For those of you who weren't with us on the PM drive yesterday, we spent the whole drive with her, and as we left her, because it was getting dark and it was very thick bush, we thought it would be best to leave her alone to do some hunting. She actually managed to kill a steenbok, and a vehicle that was still in the area didn't see it because he also decided to leave her, but he heard it because he had just stopped and was just enjoying the moon rising actually, and he heard the audio of the steenbok and then drove into that area and found her with the steenbok kill in her mouth. And in just a few moments some hyena were on the scene. They had obviously heard the steenbok alarm call, or distress call rather, as it was caught by the leopard, and she continued then to hoist the kill up into a marula tree, and that's where we left her last night. She had gone to sleep after making the kill and hadn't even had a bite when we left her last night. I'm hoping that she's still going to have some remains of this kill in the tree. She should in all likelihood, I doubt she would have finished it, but there's a chance she may have dropped the kill down. The marula tree that she was forced to hoist the kill into because the hyenas were on the scene so quickly meant that it wasn't really a good marula tree. It didn't have great places for her to position the kill, but she's a wise old leopard, and I don't think she would have been clumsy enough to have lost the kill, but it is a possibility. So we're probably about 5 minutes away from where we left her, probably actually a bit longer because it was in the middle of one of these very thick blocks. We're going to have to weave our way back in there and try and find exactly where we left her, which I'm confident we'll be able to do. Now, for those of you who are joining for the first time, welcome on board, and it's important to know that this is an interactive live safari, so at any point you can ask myself or Brent, the other presenter, a question, and to do that you would hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or questions@wildearth.gmail.tv. Thanks, Brian. That's the second time I've done that recently, and thanks for correcting me. So it's questions@wildearth.tv. So send those questions through, and Alex, who's in the final control directing the show today, will do his best to get those questions through to us. Now, even though we're heading towards what we think is a confirmed sighting, it's important for me to check for any tracks along the way. Other animals could have moved past here, or if she did lose the kill, she may have left. The only tracks I've seen on this little corner are some hyena tracks heading in the same direction that we're heading in, and that's for obvious reasons. Within minutes of her making the kill, there were already hyena on the scene, and more may have heard the commotion or smelt the blood from the kill and have made their way into that area hoping for some scraps. So we can assume with a little bit of luck that there may be some hyena lurking around in the area. So that's another animal we could look forward to see shortly. Well, I think it'll be a good opportunity now, while myself and Brian continue to make our way towards where we left it, to go and catch up with Brent and get an update on how he's doing with tracking down these line that we're calling. And let's cross over to him and see exactly what he has to say.
Good morning, guys. Sorry, I'm not going to look back at the camera too much right now. I'm concentrating on driving. So I'm with Andrew this morning. We heard lions calling from camp, but very, very close to camp. So we went out at half past 5 to see if we could try find them before drive started. Unfortunately, they are very much on the march. So we had the trucks. They crossed into this block here. We're driving through to jump around to see if we can get the trucks going out, and hopefully we can find them. But other than that, you can see that the chillers in the air. Got my gloves on. Okay, getting into the area now. They've either gone into the drainage line or they've crossed through to Twin Dams Road. It sounded, and from the tracks we saw here, at least 2 male lines. I'm not going to hazard any guesses at who they are just yet till we find them. The problem with male lions when they're in this sort of calling and moving is that they can cover big distances, and it's actually beyond cool this morning. It's cold, which is great for a lion if you're on the march. But hopefully we can find them. I'm very excited. I haven't seen any big male lions since I've been here, so hopefully our cat luck continues from yesterday. What we're also hoping is that they roll again. That'll give us a nice exact position to start looking again.
Brent, why exactly are the lions roaring? What's the purpose of them roaring?
The main purpose of the male lions roaring is to let all other male lions know that this is their territory. And generally, well, especially with coalitions, more roaring together, it's far more scary if you're a sort of nomadic male or nomadic coalition who's trying to sneak into the area. Right, we got their trucks. They've jumped ahead of us. These guys are really moving this morning. Oh, there they are. There we go.
Nice.
Yay! Love it when a good plan comes together. I was worried that they were going to keep walking, and as I said, they can walk big distances. So, we can only see one there, but there are 2 sets of tracks here. So he's already on the walk. That means there are 2 sets of tracks, that the other might be ahead. Just cleaning the spider webs off the camera. So once we get a better view, I'd like you guys to help me out. I'm guessing that this would probably be one of the Matimbas, since they are the dominant coalition in the north here. But once we get a look at his face, maybe you guys can help me out with the exact answer. And send your questions on Twitter to hashtag Safari Live, or questions at WildEarthTV. There's some really fresh lion tracks next to us here. Another reason he might have been calling is to see where the other members of the coalition are, just to check where everyone is, because there we go, he's going to scent mark against that little. Good morning. It's always exciting finding male lions. They're so big and powerful. Just check that my camera settings are right. He's listening now. It could be possibly that he's listening for his other coalition member. Oh, flop. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to try a reposition around him. So I can find a gap that we don't disturb him. I guess we're a bit thick on the other side of the road. I can try. Let's have a look. Very good looking lion, nice dark mane. You can see quite a lot of the scars on his face from various altercations and fights over food. And male lions in defensive territory and patrol of territory have been recorded to walk up to 20 kilometers in an evening. Just give me a second, guys. I'm just going to let the other game drive vehicles know that we found him. Good morning, mobile stations. Are there any other stations mobile in the north? Morning mobile stations, does anyone copy? Update from the north, there's one Madola Ngala on Twin Dams Road, just to the north of the junction with Nyala Road South, Vulture's Nest.
Coming south.
A-firm heading south. He's lying up at the moment, but general direction has been south. A-firm, now I haven't gone off for two my daughters, but at the moment I only have one. Copy, will do. I'm going back to channel 2. So guys, which male do you think this is? Remember, please send your answers to #SafariLive on Twitter or questions at WildEarthTV. So on the radio there, I just heard that okay, Alan Fowler says it's a Matimba male. Thank you, Alan. Would make sense is that they are the dominant coalition of lions in this area. And Sarita on Twitter also said Matimba male. So what the other ranger said, he says, yeah, he's sure he heard 2. And I said, yeah, we've got tracks of 2, but we're only with 1. So it's quite possible that the other's quite close by, or he's decided to walk. The other reason he might be walking ahead of this male and in more of a hurry is they could be looking to mate, and he could be more dominant. So he's in not as big a rush to find where the girls are, because he's not as dominant as the other. And until I spend a bit more time with this coalition and see them together, it's going to be quite difficult to figure out who is or the social hierarchy of the coalition. But even though he isn't dominant, there's a very good chance that during the mating he will get a chance to mate as well. Nice little bit of light coming through onto his face. Good morning, Natalie in Florida. I don't think he's that full, but he definitely has eaten something. Sorry, Natalie asked, is his belly ready full? It looked that way on screen. As I said, I don't think he's that full, but he's definitely eaten in the last couple of days. Oh, looks like he was thinking about getting up. Come on, big boy. Hey guys, we're gonna sit here with this beautiful big male lion. Scott has found Karula, where she had the kill yesterday, so I'm quite sure a lot of you guys are very keen to catch up with her. So we're gonna cross back to Scott, and I'm quite sure we'll bounce between the two of us, depending on what's happening this morning. So enjoy.
Well, what a morning it's turning out to be so far. Big congratulations to Brent and Andrew for tracking down the lion, and I believe you've been enjoying watching him stroll down the road initially. So happy that Brent managed to track him down so quickly. And we've also got lucky with Karula. As you can see, she's lying up at the base of the marula tree, where she has the kill hoisted, and Brian will in a moment or two slowly take you through the scene that we're in here. I'm quite surprised no hyena have waited here for any titbits, and I can assume that because she's lying on the ground, and she wouldn't do that if there were hyena around. So now Brian's taking you up the marula tree, and there's still a fair amount of the kill remaining, as we assumed there would be. So hard to say exactly how much of this little steenbuck she's fed on, but there looks to be at least half of it remaining. And she was earlier she was looking up at the kill. Hard to say. Obviously she's interested by it and will continue to feed on it. But difficult to say how long it will take for her to decide to start her next feeding session. But we certainly will be sticking around until she does that, because it'll be beautiful to see her heading up this tree and then continuing to feed. And I'm confident she will at some stage this morning, so myself and Brian are going to get comfortable here. And how wonderful that between this leopard sighting and a lion sighting we can chop and change between whatever's showing the best action at any given point. A very good morning for all of us on the Wild Earth team and for all you viewers out there. So to those of you who have tuned in, I'm glad you're enjoying an action-packed morning so far, and might be worth letting your friends know all the action that's going on and get them joined in on the action too. It wasn't easy finding this spot, and I was seriously concerned at one stage that we weren't, because it's just so thick in here, and the fact that we were also in here in the darkness last night means it's difficult to pick up other bearing points, other trees, etc. that may lead us to the kill. But thankfully the way she had hoisted this kill in the tree, from quite a distance we spotted the kill. There's one leg of the steenbuck dangling down vertically, which was the initial obscurity that I noticed in this marula tree, and that led us to her. Her ears have pricked up a little bit there and seem quite focused on something ahead of her. It could well be a hyena approaching. What hyena will do is they may, even though they were here last night, we saw 2 or 3 slinking about, they may have assessed the situation and realized that there's not too much meat. Excuse me. Thanks, Brian. That there's not too much meat here, and not really worth investing too much time in hanging around for any titbits. But they will possibly come back, knowing that a few bits would have dropped down, so 1 or 2 may come through at any stage, and that may induce her to head up the tree and also allow for some great hyena viewing for all of us.
Let's scan.
What's the lion up to? Copy, sounds like a good plan. Well, control know if anything happens here and link straight back to us if there's a little bit of action. We'll see you later.
Hi guys, welcome back. As you can see, he hasn't moved much, but he has been showing a little bit of interest in that direction he's looking. Looks like he's heard something that we can't hear over there, as maybe it's his coalition mates, maybe it's females, who knows, but we will follow. Seems I always choose some of the thicker areas to walk through when you need to follow them. There's actually almost back in the direction he came from. Watch the aerial there.
Alrighty.
So instead of following straight behind him, we try sort of give him a little bit of space. Oh, he's just found a new spot to slide down. Okay, we moved to it. We got some nice light on his face. Oh no, he's up again. To answer the question from earlier, judging here, he could be quite hungry. He's not that full. He's being very much a male lion, walking a short while and then flopping down for a little bit. Just going to try and find a way that we can get a better view of him. Oh no, he's still quite a way away. So as the sun was creeping into the last position, he was lying down. So I decided, no, better to be in the shade. Now you can see, imagine if you were just walking through the bush here, the chances of you spotting him would be very, very slim. I mean, look at that. And he's behind the little white berry bush thickets. And if you were coming from the north, he'd probably hear you far before you got there. Still listening? We can have a cross our fingers and hope he gives us a roar, but I think it might be a little bit late for roaring, but I'm very happy to be proved wrong at any time. Always quite an interesting shot through the grass. I really like it. It's sort of very different from your postcard, your normal sort of lion postcard picture. Good morning, Diane and John. Diane and John would both like to know how old he is. I would probably guess he's over 5, probably 5, between 5 and maybe 7 or 8, but rather than guess, we'll just ask someone who knows the lines a little bit better than me. Scott, come in. Alex, I think I'm too far for Scott to hear me. Can you relay a message for me? Could you ask Scott if he knows the age or the general age of the Matimba coalition? There's another lion roaring right to our right here. Diane in New York. Oh, I can actually see the other male. I'll get to your question now, Diane. There's another male lion walking just to the right of us. Diane thinks this might not be a Matimba unless we can see a wound on his front right paw, or it might be if this other male joining us here has a. Oh, hopefully he joins us. Hopefully he sees where this guy is. Has got the dark hairy belly. Otherwise these could be Salati males. Thank you very much, Diane. That's a very helpful little insight. We haven't seen a wound on the paw yet, but I'm trying to see. I just got a glimpse of that other lion through the thicket here. I think, can you see him there, Andrew?
It's a negative.
He was heading this way, but it's almost like, oh,
It's quite thick.
it's quite thick. I'm going to stand by here for a moment because I just picked up the audio of a lion contact call. So I think until we know exactly which coalition this is, whether it's the Salatis or the Matimbas, we will wait to find out who it is before we try to figure out the age. The Salati males, if it's the same Salati males I saw a few years ago, when I was visiting some friends in the southern Sabi Sands, they were about 4 or 5 then. That would make them 8 or 9 if it was the Salati males, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't think they look as old as that though. It's got to go on Twin Dams Road, probably 200 meters to the south of Spaghetti Junction, and then about 100 meters or so west into the block. Seems like he stopped moving. Maybe he lay down over there. I think we'll just sit tight and hopefully they will come together. But he just picked up that faint contact call from a lion. I'm not going to do an imitation of the contact call sitting this close to a big male lion. He might get confused. That means there actually could be 3 males in this area because we heard more than one calling this morning. We found here we had the tracks of 2, even though we only found the 1. This could be a third one coming from behind, or it could be the second male who got sidetracked or distracted and walked back to look at something else or did a loop through the block. He hasn't walked past this thicket yet, so maybe he's decided to lie down. Last station, go again. Station, do you copy?
Yeah. Station calling.
FM, were you looking for an update on Channel 2?
It's Andrew, man. How are you?
Good, thanks, Andrew. Brent here.
Cool, thanks. What's happening out there?
I've got 2 Madoda Ngala. I'm not sure which Madoda Ngala on Twin Dams Road, about 150 meters south of Spaghetti Junction, 100 meters west into the block. And then Scott has got Karula Mafazi with a Bamba at Rebecca's junction with Philemon's cut line.
Okay, cool, thanks. How many more over there with bike Karula?
I'm not 100% sure, just stand by one, I'll check for you. Scott coming. Alex, could you ask Scott how many vehicles are in his position at the moment?
You said go ahead, I think.
Could you ask Scott how many vehicles are in his position at the moment? Alex, did you copy? Copy, thanks. Andrew, there's only one mobile from Wild Earth there and no one else showing interest.
Okay, I'll try and make my way there. Is it close to the cut line road or is it the road, any road?
FM, it's very close to Gowrie Main. It's near the junction of Philemon's cut line and Rebecca's Road.
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna try to make my way down there.
Copy, I'll let Scott know that you're coming.
Okay, thanks so much for this. Okay.
No problem.
Have enough.
Just pass the message on to Scott. Andrew is making his way towards that position. Okay, we're sitting in a bit of a conundrum here. I'm quite interested to see who that other lion is and where the other lion is. Copy, thanks. Andrew, come back. Andrew, just a quick update from Scott. He says best access is off Ballinati's Road. There's a little 2-track that goes to our repeater. It says best access is from that road.
2.
Okay, so we got a bit of a choice here. I really would like to see the other lion. I think he's lying just down here. And hopefully if we do move, he doesn't move, which is always a possibility. But he looks quite set, so I think it's possibly worth the risk to go try see the other male lion. So I'm just going to pop around the corner and see if we can find him. If not, we're going to come back to this gentleman here. Watch the aerial coming back. There we go, there's the other male lion. So we've got, let's just go have a look, see if we can try figure out which coalition this is. Isn't this exciting? One of the most important things with all animals, and especially with your sort of potentially dangerous animals, is most of the time, unless they're walking straight at you, and especially when a male lion's lying down like this, you don't want to drive straight at them. It is quite threatening. So I'm just going to try to turn off to the right here, so we don't make him feel like we're pressuring him. And the thing that would more than likely happen is he would just actually get up and move, which we don't want him to do unless he wants to. Simple. There's a hole there. There we go. This is the second male. Lying in a slightly nicer spot, a bit easier for us to see him. Still very difficult to try to figure out which coalition these two belong to, because they are lying down, so we can't see those very distinguishing features that you guys mentioned earlier, like the wound on the paw or the very black belly. Last station, go again. Station, driving on Twin Downs Road, coming. Station, I'm not copying what you're saying, but if you keep coming, you'll get my vehicle visual, and we've got Djuma and Karula here. Oh, tired line. Maybe try the Eastern Channel. Station on Twin Downs Road, coming. Sorry, confirm you are making your way towards these Djuma and Karula.
Negative, I'm trying for spot that side. There's another mover coming your way.
I don't know, I've just got audio over it sounds like on Twin Dams heading north.
Okay, I'm not sure who that will be, but yeah, I'm going heading towards that Malama Street for that.
Okay, copy, thanks. Okay, guys. Scott's just chatting to me here in my ear quickly, and we might do a very quick link because Karula's at the base of the tree and she's looking up, so she might climb. So, Alex, these lines are flat cats, so if there's a potential for some action with Scott, I think maybe we should cut to Scott now. So Alex, yeah, both lines are flat cats. So if you want to cut to Scott, if there is potential for her climbing the tree, maybe it's better to do it before the last second. No problem. Okay, so there's been some comments that the Salati males were seen on Tinswalu, and no one's very sure how far that is from Djuma. It is quite far. It is probably about 20 to 25 kilometers to the north of us. I mean, it's possible that they could have walked this far, but it is slightly unlikely. So I'm not 100% sure. And I mean, the last time I saw the Salati males, there were 4 of them, and they were young blonde boys. Definitely not dark-maned males. This is also the fascinating thing about being in a new area, having to figure out which lions, which. Go again, Alex. Oh, thank you, Barb, on Twitter. She's gone and had a look at pictures of the Salati males, and she says the Salati males' manes aren't this dark, which probably means these are Matimbas. So that probably means this are 2 members of the Matimbas. Guys, can you help me out? I'm not sure how many lions are in the Matimba coalition. So could you help me out there and tell me how many lions are in the coalition? And please send your answers to questions at WildEarthTV or hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Dan on Twitter says that the Matimbas are about 11 or 12. I mean, these do look like... and Chris is also agreeing that they're Matimbas. 11 or 12, so these guys are sort of... depending on the size of their coalition, they could be getting towards the end of their reign. 11, 12 is quite old for male lions to still hold. Quite old for lions to still hold territory. I mean, they're sort of pushing right towards the edge of their sort of time at the top, so to speak. And the reason for this is that they have a relatively short space of time as the dominant males in an area, is to ensure genetic diversity, because then new males will come in and just keep changing the genes. Although lions, according to some research, are able to inbreed up to 6 generations without too many adverse effects. I think that's probably a built-in system to okay. There's the lions of the Sabi Sands are saying there's 2 Matimbas in the Sabi Sands and 3 Matimbas in the Manyeleti. Could the lions and the Sabi Sands, do the 5 Matimbas still occasionally join together still, or have they really broken that original coalition tie? That would be very interesting to know. Because the Mapocho, for many months, used to spend a lot of time apart, but whenever there was an intruder into their territory, they would still band together, even though they might not have seen each other for a couple of months. Oh, excuse me.
Bless.
Sorry, Mr. Lion. Okay, well, as you can see, these are pretty flat cats. So, we're going to go have a look what Scott's got with Karula, and see what he's got there.
Welcome back. And as you can see, Karula is looking upwards at the kill, and she's been doing this a number of times. She's yawned about 3 or 4 times as well, which are all good signs that she could well get up and active and climb up the marula tree for us and start to feed. So it's a good time that you have come back to us, because at any moment she could get up. And it sounds like you've been having a wonderful sighting with not 1 but 2 big male lions. Something we haven't seen for a while here. As well as leopard. Until yesterday morning it had been just about a week, I think, that no leopard had been seen. Copy that, thanks Alex. She's also very alert. There have been a few instances where she's picked up her head very quickly. She's obviously heard some kind of a rustle in the grass. And she is very alert. Other predators, not only hyena, could come into the sighting. Lion could be attracted by the scent. Other leopard, wild dog. So even though she seems very relaxed at the moment, she's still very alert. We did reposition the vehicle slightly, so we are on the other side of her relative to where we were when you first saw her this morning. And we've done that so that the sun can be behind us if she does climb this marula tree, in order to get the best possible shot. And Andrew, another vehicle, will be making their way here. You may well have heard Brent conversing with Andrew over the radio, and we'll direct him in just using his vehicle audio noise. Andrew, can you copy me? Okay, I can't copy you, but basically follow the 2-track that leads you to the Gowrie repeater, or the repeater station off Balanites. It's kind of midway between Zoe's and Impala Road. You would head south, and then continue south into the block, and I'll use your vehicle audio to call you in. Andrew go again. Andrew, I'm not copying you, but if you just follow my directions, I can keep leading you in. Apologies for that, but it is very important for us to help Andrew into this sighting, as we would expect the same help from him if the roles were reversed. Just to recap on what happened last night, we spent basically the whole afternoon with this beautiful female leopard, and it got to a point at around, it was about 6:45 last night, where we decided it would be best to leave her because, as you can see, it's very thick in this area, and it was becoming night time, which is the ultimate time for leopards to hunt. And by us following her through very thick vegetation, we would have flushed away any potential prey. The other vehicle that was in the sighting with us, Johan, had the same intentions as us, and they were planning on leaving her, but they had stopped in the middle of this open block, and we're watching the full moon rise, and obviously just reflecting on what a great afternoon we had shared with her. And because their vehicle wasn't running, we were busy making our way back to the road. They actually heard the steenbuck squeal in distress as the leopard caught it, and this audio led them in towards where she was, and they drove in the direction of the noise they heard and found her with the steenbuck in her mouth. She was standing dead still, listening intently, because she obviously knew that that little squeal that the steenbuck let out was going to be attracting other predators. And within minutes, hyena were on the scene. We arrived just shortly after she had scrambled up this marula tree to get the kill and herself away from the hyena. But it's just a good example of when to leave animals and when to stay with animals, and it paid off for us, because if we had have continued staying with her, we certainly wouldn't have been able to see the kill, and or even probably the kill wouldn't have even happened. As I said, we would have probably flushed the steenbuck away before she had a chance to catch it. So by leaving her early, we actually got rewarded. And another big yawn, telltale signs that she may well get active. And the fact that she's grooming herself now is also a very good sign. This is the first time she's groomed herself this morning, and it's also a very good indicator that she may well be becoming active soon. So don't go anywhere, because there's a strong chance at any moment now she'll get up, climb up this marula tree, which is not the easiest one to climb. She'll make it look easy, I'm guessing, but things to bear in mind is that she's relatively full-bellied now. Before she even started feeding on this kill, she had about half a tank, I would say. So she wasn't starving, she wasn't full-bellied, but she was comfortable. And now that she's fed on an extra half, she'll be fairly full-bellied, which makes getting up there a little bit more tricky. As you can see, she's looking up again. And I'm going to get my camera ready. Myra in Washington, good morning and welcome on board. Myra's asking how tall this marula tree is and how high can leopard scale a tree before needing a horizontal branch to assist them. Very good question, Myra, and I guess a lot would depend on the individual leopard. In this case, the marula tree is about 4 meters until the first fork, and then probably another 2 up to where you can see the kill position. And what a great shot Brian's giving you there. You can see the leopard at the base and the kill dangling up on the far side of the tree, kind of in the center of the shot. In terms of how high they can scale before needing a horizontal limb, I would say a leopard could make at least double this distance of the first fork in this tree before needing a breather. So I would say about 8 meters would be possible for leopard. It also depends on whether they have a kill in their mouth, because that makes it considerably trickier. You could imagine a female leopard who probably weighs around 40 to 50 kilograms, about 80 to 100 pounds, carrying up a fully grown impala weighing more than themselves. An incredible feat of strength, and they are said to be one of the strongest cat pound for pound, and a lot of that is attributed to the fact that they can hoist kills their own body weights or more vertically up a tree. She's lucky the hyena didn't stick around here, because it's not a comfortable marula tree relative to others in the area. It doesn't have very thick branches, and on top of that there's very few actual horizontal branches. Most of them are at a slight angle, therefore making it more difficult for her to get comfortable. So if she was marooned up in the tree, it would make for an uncomfortable few hours for her. But as I did say earlier, the hyena could return at any stage. We're very close to the hyena den site that we've been viewing recently, and would love to actually pop in there a little bit later, because it's been a few days since we've been there. So it'll be good to see how they're doing. But because we are so close to that hyena den site, it makes even more sense that they could swing past on their way back from their night out, looking for potential meals to scavenge as well as hunt. The hyenas in this area do hunt, and the Djuma waterhole camera actually helped provide us with some useful intelligence on that matter. It was a while ago, but a hyena was seen chasing an impala into the Vuyatela Dam, or Gauri Dam, and the impala swam around for a bit and eventually got tired, and at such point where the impala had to come to an area of the dam shallow enough for it to stand, because it was getting too tight to swim. The hyena came in and grabbed it. So they do hunt for themselves out here, but also do a lot of scavenging, predominantly from leopard in the Sabi Sands, and that's probably because we've got a high density of leopard here, and for a hyena it's easier and less risky to steal from a leopard than it is to steal from lion. Here we go. Or is she just repositioning into the shade? She could well just be moving into another shady patch, which looks to be the case. So, false alarm. I was hoping that she was going to head up the tree and continue feeding. Either way, at least we're going to see her move around, and look at how full her belly is. Notably more extended than when we were viewing her yesterday. And isn't she beautiful? I personally think she has a few cubs growing within that belly of hers. It's been 2 months since she lost her last cub, and she could have been mating as soon as a week after that. It wasn't confirmed, but I'm fairly certain she would have mated fairly shortly after that. Call it even 2 weeks, within a 2-week period after that. That would mean the cubs would have been growing for a month and a half now. Okay, well, let's cut back to Brent. He's got a bit of action there, so we'll catch up with you again shortly.
Welcome back, guys. That second male's got up. It looks like he might be heading towards his coalition mate. Or we might just be looking for another patch of shade. We'll find out shortly. There he disappears behind that round leaf teak. Yeah, looks like he's heading straight towards his coalition mate. So the other male is lying just beyond that bush, but he can't see him because he's probably flat cut, so he's sniffing around for him. Sniff, sniff. Oh, you got the right direction now. The other male is actually, well, he might have moved, but I don't think so. He was lying just to the right. But he was lying there earlier, so he's sniffing. Where's he gone? I can't find him. I can't find him. There you go. The other male's just popped up his head. He spotted him. It's like, dude, over here. Maybe he doesn't want to be found. Another guy's still looking in the wrong direction. But he's sniffing where the male was a little bit earlier. Let's see what happens. Okay, looks like he's found the right direction. So let's drag into position to see the greeting. That went right.
That's good, that's good.
There we go. That was nice. Probably the most action we're going to get out of these two this morning. Almost meowing. All this social grooming, very important for coalition members, strengthens their ties together. And it's fascinating to watch. And you think, if it was over a meal or mating rights with a female, they would be fighting each other. So if you think your domestic cat at home gets hairballs, imagine what these two get after preening. I'm just going to try and move it a little bit further forward to get that branch out of the way. Show that gap there, I think. Is that better? Perfect. There we go. Beautiful. Nice. That's wonderfully huge animals. You see those muscles as he walks, latent sort of energy that you know is there. You watch my back and I'll watch yours. Last station, copying you 0 out of 5. If you can copy me, please try the eastern channel. last station that was calling on the Djuma channel. Please come in.
Yeah, Andrew.
Andrew, have you managed to find Scott?
Negative. I gave up there. I can't find a way.
Hey, copy. Did you find the 2-track that heads towards the repeater?
Well, I almost drive. I follow one of the tracks that, I almost approached the repeater, but I couldn't get right. But lucky this time.
Copy. Just stand by. If you're still in the area, I'll call Scott again. His radio is down, and I'm in a bad signal area where I am.
Positioned because Karula is lying in such a beautiful spot. And I'm just going to leave you with these beautiful views and just try and help Andrew into the sighting. We're having troubles with our radio, so I'm going to have to relay it via Brent. Tell Andrew to head south into the block from the antenna off Balanites, midway between Zoe's and Impala Road. He heads south on the 2-track that takes him to the antenna, and then south into the block from there. Oh yeah, I don't think he'll know of it as the Garia repeater like we do. So just tell him that antenna between Zoe's and Impala Road on Balanites. You might be able to hear some birds calling. They're making a serious racket. I can't see them, but they are green wood hoopers. Oh, big yawn. And isn't it beautiful seeing her in this dappled sunlight? Another beautiful big yawn. Again, good signs that she might get active. And she surely has to go and feed on this kill at some stage. So we're not going to go anywhere. And these sounds of her yawning are good ones. As well as grooming, that she may get her act together and go and start feeding. So we're lucky that she repositioned into the spot that she did, because it's quite open relative to most of the other vegetation and areas around surrounding us, which allows for us to have a great view of her as she slowly starts her morning. She won't have too much to worry about. She's got guaranteed food and could well be here up until this evening and only finish this kill later on tonight. And food is the most important thing out here, especially for predators who don't have an easy job catching their prey, even though they're incredibly good hunters and extremely stealthy. The prey animals have evolved over many years to avoid being caught by the predators. So you find animals like lion and leopard will only succeed in about 20% of their attempted hunts. Again, a lot will depend on the individual leopard and or the individual pride of lion. Success rates will differ greatly amongst different individuals. Brent, is Andrew... Yeah, how's Andrew doing? Okay, copy. Just got a question through from Tim in Arkansas. Good morning, Tim. And Tim is asking, from what age do leopards start climbing trees? And from as young as, I'd say, a month and a half, or even possibly a month, they'll start trying to scramble up trees. Because from 3 months of age, the mother will start weaning them off milk and she'll start taking them to her kills, which they will feed on. So from 3 months of age, they'll start feeding on meat, and when they do start feeding on meat, it's essential for them to be able to climb, because, as you know, hyena and other lions will be attracted to the kill point, and as long as the cubs can climb, they will be in relative safety. So, very important for them to be able to climb trees from a young age. And from as young as 3 months, they'll be fairly proficient climbers. So I hope that answers your question. And won't it be nice to monitor Karula's next litter of cubs and how long it takes them to climb their first tree. Well, she's teasing us, Karula, getting up and down, all this grooming, yawning, leading us to believe that she could climb up this tree at any stage, but she then pops down again. But that's fine, we're in no rush. There's still plenty of time this morning for her to climb up this tree, and we won't go anywhere until she does. As you can see, she's still very alert, ears pivoting forward and back, making sure she can hear the sound of any animals approaching. And this comes second nature to leopard. And most of the animals out here, for that matter. Kind of have to sleep with one eye open if you're going to make it out here. Brian, can you hear branches breaking?
I can indeed.
I'm not sure if it's a vehicle. It doesn't sound like a vehicle. I can't hear any vehicle audio.
Perhaps some Ellies.
Perhaps some Ellies. Very, very likely possibility. What's interesting is Andrea has decided against coming here and decided to head off to another sighting. So it shouldn't be him, and he was the only person that would have come if it is a vehicle that we can hear. Either way, there's some branches breaking in the distance. We'll wait and see what it is. It certainly would spice things up if a herd of elephants came into the mix. Cindy in Tennessee, good morning and welcome on board with us. Cindy is asking why I think the hyena have moved off and didn't stick around for any tidbits. It's a very good question. I'm not too sure why. I did touch on it a little bit earlier. It could potentially be because they've assessed the situation and have realized that there's not actually a lot of meat here. It's a small kill, and she hasn't started feeding on it. And when she does start feeding on it, or she has obviously fed on it now, but they might come back a little bit later to check this area for any small bones or scraps that they know the leopard will not finish. The leopard won't eat everything, as they're not designed to, whereas the hyena are. So they may have been hungry or had other opportunities to go and scavenge or hunt for themselves elsewhere. Hard to tell. I would have expected there to be at least one or two hyena here this morning, but alas, I was wrong. So difficult to say. Potentially, yes, like I said, hyena, they heard some other vocalizations or other opportunities of meals arose that they went to. But it wouldn't surprise me if a hyena came past at any moment just to double check on what's going on here. And judging by her alertness, she's also expecting visitors. Good question though, Cindy, and hopefully some hyena will come onto the scene. Lynn in New Hampshire, good morning. Lynn is asking whether vultures or other birds could disturb Karula and her kill. There's a small chance of that happening, but unlikely. I haven't ever seen vultures or other birds causing an issue for leopard, and that's because it's difficult for birds of prey to find kills of leopard in trees. It's far easier for them to find bigger kills in the open made by lions. So that's the one thing. And then even the birds that are attracted to leopard kills, birds such as bataleurs, tawny eagles, hooded vultures, are not quite bold enough to try and dislodge or feed on a kill of a leopard, especially if she's nearby. It'll take her just a few seconds to get up the tree, not giving the birds any time to cause any major impact on the situation there. So they're fortunate in that regard, the leopard. Lisa on Twitter is asking if we can tell how far apart Karula is from the male lion that Brent is with now. And yes, I can. I've got a very good idea of where Brent is. And we're probably about 1.5 miles to 2 miles away. So, a safe distance apart. And she's got nothing to worry about regarding them at this stage. She may be deciding to go up into the tree, or she could just be repositioning into the shade. But I am going to get us into a position that if she does go up the tree, Brian's going to have a good angle. And she did look up there temporarily. Come on, Karula. I think she is going to go up and feed. She was in a perfectly shady spot there. A little bit of dappled sunlight, but nothing too serious, and it's not too hot yet, so I'm guessing she is going to go up the tree for us. Come on. Let's hope she doesn't go up on the side of the tree where we can't see her. She's also sniffing around looking for any tidbits that may have dropped down there. Because she won't want to waste anything, and she'd certainly prefer to feed on it herself than let the hyena have it. Still not quite ready yet, it appears. She does appear to be looking very intently back in one direction, and I wonder what it is that's causing that. There he goes. Come on. Again, she appears to really be interested in something to the west of us. Who knows, it could be another potential source of prey. It's not uncommon for leopard to have 2 kills in the same vicinity. And it makes sense for predators out here to take any opportunity they can get, because they never know when they will have their next opportunity. So on several occasions I've seen leopard with 2 kills, never hoisted in the same tree, but in trees nearby. And that would make sense because it's energy consuming and time consuming dragging a kill around to try and get it into the same tree that an existing kill may be in. It's far safer and easier for a leopard to hoist it up the closest tree, and that's also the safest bet for them. Not the best angle at the moment, but we'll give it a minute or two to see what unfolds before we reposition. You can hear a very nice bird call in the background while we're waiting though. And it's a black-crowned chagra. It's the one that's just called now. That was a terrible, terrible improvisation on my behalf, but it sounds kind of similar to that. What could be going on to the west of us? It is so thick in here, very difficult to see, but she's turning around now, looking back up into the tree. Another big yawn. There goes the chagra again. Interesting name, the chagra. It's spelled T-C-H-A-G-R-A. Pretty birds, you don't see them very often. They're quite secretive, but their call is one of their best attributes. Lisa on Twitter's just sent through a message saying that not long ago a male leopard called Djuma did manage to make 2 kills and have them hoisted up 2 separate trees, and then I believe another leopard came along and stole one of the kills from him. That is the one difficulty, is if you do have 2 kills in 2 separate places, even if they are hoisted in a tree where they're safe from everything else, if another leopard were to find that kill without any other one being there to defend it, they would obviously have no problem climbing up and helping themselves. So thanks for sending that through, Lisa, and I'm glad that some of you have witnessed that before. Well, considering she's just laid down now, let's cut across to Brent and see what he's been up to for the last few minutes, and we'll be sure to let you know when Karula gets active again. See you later.
Welcome back, guys. As you can see, they've moved a little bit since we were last with them, and they've come to this one little patch of shade, and they're lying next to each other. It's possible they've done a seriously long walk last night, or it's possible that they just walked very short and are just being male lions. But I won't lie, this morning was incredible when we woke up and just really close to our camp, those male lions roaring. It has to be one of my favorite things. That's the problem. I think I got so many favorite things in the bush.
I don't think that's a problem.
That is true. Definitely sitting in the right place if I've got lots of favorite things in the bush. The cat gods have been smiling on us for the last 2 days. Or last 3 days actually. We had the Pride. And we had the Pride, then we had Karula, and we've still got Karula, or Scots with Karula, and we've got the male lions and the wild dogs. So it's been a good predator week, and with lots of ellies and buffalo scattered in between. Maybe we should call it a big game week.
So how will this coalition form? Would these be two brothers?
It's very, very difficult to tell. There's been a lot of genetic research done by lion researchers over the years on coalitions. And the majority of coalitions are not related, but when you do get big coalitions of sort of 5, 6, up to 8 I've heard of before, then you generally will find that they are litter mates. Not necessarily half brothers, not necessarily full brothers. They could be from different mothers in the same pride. But on the smaller coalitions, sort of 2 to 4, quite often you might find 2 are related and 2 aren't, or sometimes none of them are related. And when they're sort of young males, just over 2.5, 3 years old, and they're sort of skitting around the edge of dominant males' territories and sort of bump into each other, it's beneficial for them to join, because if they join, they're obviously going to be able to challenge dominant males at a younger age, rather than having 2 or 3 or 4 of you than one of you by itself. And in this part of the world, the majority of the prides seem to be under coalition governance. But in certain areas, you will find that single males are predominant, and that's probably in areas where there's not as great a population as the sort of Lowveldt and Kruger area, or even in areas. But I think that's probably a preconceived idea that people put in, that there was always one male lion with a pride. And I think where possible, coalitions are generally the norm, just because it makes sense in terms of competition.
What about hunting? Were these two hunting?
Oh, most definitely.
So it helps for hunting.
Yes. There's another very big misconception with lions, is that male lions don't hunt. They do, but when they don't have to, they choose not to. So when they're with the prides and whatnot, they will, being bigger and stronger, they will let the females do the majority of the hunting for your small to medium-sized antelope. But spending a lot of time away from the prides and patrolling areas, they do a lot of hunting by themselves, and it's generally bigger prey like buffalo and things like that, which are easier for males to bring down than females. And also when they are with the pride, if the pride are hunting sort of big game, a hippo, buffalo, sub-adult elephants, or teenage elephants, the male lions will play a very important role in the hunting.
And can we assume that most coalitions, the males are relatively the same age?
Not always. I mean, the Mopoko, quite famously, they had one male who's probably about 1.5 years, or maybe even 2 years older than the rest of the 5. and he wasn't even the dominant. So it just depends. But generally they will be around that same age. They would have been between sort of 2.5 and 4 when they formed the coalitions. And it's quite interesting. I've seen the beginning of a coalition in Botswana, and both the males are very nervous of each other for the first few months, sort of not quite sure. But as it builds over years, I mean, these two could possibly be not related at all, and you can see how close they are now. It would be the same as if they had been related there. Alex, are you back? Sure that these are the Matimbas, or two of the Matimbas. Looking very, very comfortable in their little spots of shade. I think for the rest of the day, I'm pretty sure they're going to move from the exact spot they're lying at the moment when the sun gets onto them too much. But I don't think they're probably going to move more than 50 meters, 60 meters from where they are. There's enough slightly larger trees around that they can go find shade throughout the day. So, as you guys are on game drive with us, well, we have a head lift. Oh, I think he's just got an itchy paw. So, I'd like to know what you guys would like to do next. As I said, I don't think these two are going to move very far or do very much during the heat of the day. So, up to you guys. We're happy to stay here with them if you would like, or we can go see if we can find some other animals elsewhere in the reserve. So please send what you would like to do on Twitter at #SafariLive, and on email at questions@WildEarthTV.
I wonder if you can pull maybe 30 centimeters forward.
I can.
Just to get this little tree out of the way.
Just guessing that's probably the one with the injury on his foot, and that's what he's doing. He's licking that wound. One of the biggest dangers it faces a male lion with a wound like that is actually flies. So they actually lay their eggs in the wound, and the maggots will actually start feeding on the living flesh. So his only form of medication is to lick it. So not the best, but better than nothing, because he will be able to, with that coarse tongue, sort of clean away quite a lot of the dirt and possibly some of the insects or insect larvae that are in it. But from what I saw of that wound, it didn't look infected, it just looked a little bit raw.
And we were just going across this thing. I'm like, yes, leveled off this thing.
Well, apologies for the break in signal from Brent's vehicle. But as you can see here, nothing's changed. We haven't repositioned the vehicle yet, and we probably would have had we have known we were going to go live, but Alex did just crash across to us. So she does still appear to be looking out in a westerly direction, and then let's just drive around there and have a look what's going on. There's no major rush, but we will slowly make our way across there. And again, nice just for Brian to pan out as he is, just to show you the full picture here for some of you who may have joined recently. There's a leopard that you would have seen dappled in the shadows of that initial shot, and then up in this marula tree that she's lying very close to, you can see a steenbuck, well, it is a steenbuck, dangling in the tree. She hasn't fed on much of it, so she'll still be here for a while. And we're hoping that at some stage this morning she's going to go up and feed on it, because it'll be great to see her scaling up this tree, as well as seeing her feeding in what is quite a tricky predicament actually. So we'll reposition now and see if we can get you a better angle. Susan in Australia, good morning and welcome on board with us. Well, Susan is asking, you okay there, Brian?
Yeah.
Susan is asking how long it would take for Karula to mate again once having lost her cubs. And it does depend on the individual, but in my personal history with leopards here in the Sabi Sands, I've seen a female leopard mating as soon as a week after having lost cubs. So an incredibly quick turnaround that they can come into season again. And I did see tracks of, in all likelihood, Karula alongside a male leopard, possibly a mvula, judging by the area that the tracks were in. It was an area that mvula is known to move through, and he's a dominant male leopard in this area. The father of her last cubs, apparently, she was seen mating with him 3 months before she gave birth in December last year. So she could well have already have mated within that short space of time, just 4 days afterwards. And I'm almost certainly she's carrying young now. It's just a matter of how old they are. And as I just did mention, it's a 3-month gestation period. So if she mated within 2 weeks after having lost her cubs on the 1st of January, she would have already been pregnant now for a month and a half, so halfway through her gestation period. She's still very alert. Any noises she may hear in the vegetation around us, she hones in on it to make sure there's no potential threats arriving. The wind is picking up a little bit, and this will confuse her because the leaves rustling in the trees may appear like that of the sound of an approaching animal. So that'll make it a little bit more confusing for her, now that the wind is picking up ever so slightly. Again, looking up at her kill. And it really is impossible to say when she'll feed again. But we'll stay here as long as we can to try and show you it when it does happen. The good news for us is that even if between drives she does feed on the carcass a little bit, and we don't see any of the feeding action this morning, I'm fairly certain there'll still be a considerable amounts of the kill remaining this evening for the afternoon drive. So there'll be a strong chance, if we miss her this morning, that we could see her in action this afternoon. Bob in Chicago, good morning. Bob is asking, how long will a leopard feed on a kill before it becomes too rotten and unbearable to feed on? And in my history, I've never seen that happen. So most predators will be able to feed on kills that are fairly well matured and really not in a good state in terms of smell. Often maggots can also be crawling all over the carcass that they're feeding on. For an adult leopard like this, a female, if she were to kill a fully grown impala, it would take her about 3 days to feed on, and 3 days under the African sun can cause the carcass to seriously deteriorate, but they do manage to feed on most of it, and there's not much wasted by them. So it's not a problem that they really encounter. And obviously, if they did manage to kill an exceptionally large animal, it could get to a point where the maggots actually outcompete the leopard and the whole carcass literally just melts apart. But because they are limited to catching prey kind of relative to their size and their capability of feeding on, it's seldom the case that they'll ever abandon a carcass because it's rotting. The steenbok, of course, is a very small antelope, probably only weighing about 6 or 7 kilograms. So she's going to have no problem finishing it off before it does begin to rot. I just need to be ready to reverse back into position in case she does decide to climb up the tree now, which I'm hoping she does again. For her to move now, it wouldn't be because she's uncomfortable. It's not because she's in the sun. So hopefully it's because she's hungry. And if she is, I'm just going to have to reverse into position quickly to try and make sure we don't miss her climbing up the tree. This may be a little bit bold on my behalf, but I'm going to back myself and hope that she follows through with my thoughts. And this way it also allows Brian to make sure he's absolutely ready and has got the camera leveled out. It's one of the trickiest things that I find on the camera, is that there's a pivoting point that allows you to level off the camera depending on how the vehicle's positioned, because the ground here is so undulating. It requires the cameramans to often have to reposition the camera, which is not the easiest maneuver rather. she's looking up again. There's a few clouds creeping in as well at the moment, so you may have noticed it's just got slightly darker and less sunshine on her. And there are a few clouds building out to all around us, actually, from all directions. Hence that little break in sunlight, but now the clouds moving away from the sun and you can see the sun beginning to shine through again. No. Karula, you're teasing us. Anyway, all these little bits of excitement are building up to an event that will be wonderful to witness if she does go ahead and climb up this tree. It's almost as if she knows she's performing for an audience and trying to build up the suspense. Well, even if we do reposition now, she's not facing the right direction. If we move back to where we were, we're probably going to be seeing the back of her head. Let's see how things are going with Brent. Alex, how's Brent's picture looking? Okay, copy, happy to switch across? Okay, well, as you would have established, I was in contact with Alex there in the final control room, and it would make sense now to get on back to Brent and the Lion and see what they're up to. And again, we will wait for Karula to lure us into the next phase of excitement when she starts yawning and getting up, and we'll call you back then, and hopefully then she'll climb up the tree. Until then, we'll see you later.
Welcome back, guys. As you can see, there's been very little movement here apart from the one placing his paw on top of the other. So in terms of whether we should move on or stay, it's been a very divided audience this morning. It's sitting at about 50-50. So what we'll do is we'll probably sit here for another 10 minutes or so, and then we're going to go have a look. So we'll try keep everyone happy, which is impossible, I know, but we can use this opportunity while the lions are not moving and we don't have to concentrate on driving. If you have any questions regarding lions or lion pride dynamics, or even historical distribution ranges, anything at all, you can send them in to hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or to questions at WildEarthTV. Good morning, Teresa in Virginia Beach. Welcome on Drive with us this morning. Teresa would like to know what is the longest male coalition that I'm aware of, the longest lasting in terms of how many years, and any other comments on the length of the male lions coalitions, how long they last. Teresa, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it probably would be the the Mapoko concession that were in the Sabi Sands. I think the first time I saw them together was probably in 2004, 2005, when they just, well, they were still quite young and they were sort of hanging around the edges, but of the other lions territories. But because there were 6 of them, they were able to push the other male lions in the area. I think there were 2 in the other coalition. Sorry, it was a very long time ago. They were able to push those other 2 males and actually kill them, probably much younger than they would have. Normally your coalition sort of come to their prime around 6 or 7. Sometimes you, and then we'll have sort of from that age to about 10, 11, sort of their prime dominance age. But the Mapoko managed to sort of take control of quite a vast area of the Sabi Sands before they were 6, just because there were so many of them. What that does do, though, it does create quite a lot of havoc amongst the prides. So there was one Mapoko that I know the trackers where I used to work used to call Satan or Satan, and that's due to a sighting or an incident he was involved in to the southwest of us here. He came across a pride called, then it was called Ottawa 2 and 6. It was a split pride from the main Ottawa pride. There were 2 females and 6 cubs. And over the time, the 2 and 6 became 2 and 4, became 2 and 2, and then till eventually it was 2, because they were killing the cubs. And then, as I said earlier, that one male in that coalition was quite a bit older than the others, and he was off on his own mating with one of the Ottawa lionesses, and Satan, or Mr. T, I think he was also known as, came into that position. He chased off the older male. He killed the lioness. He mated with her corpse, and then he ate her corpse. So that's where he got the name, I'm quite sure, from the trackers of Satan. But I think the other name he was known by was Mr. T. So, and then I think, I'm not 100% sure when the Mapoko ended, but they had a good run of probably over six years as sort of the dominant force of lions in that part of the Sabi Sands. As far as I know, that's the longest coalition that I know of. But even then, it gets to a stage where they sort of split into, the Mapoko sort of split into 2 and 3, and so there were 3 more in the western sections, and then 2 in the central sections, and then 1 sort of hanging around in the northern area. But they did come together quite often, but they did sort of, within the coalition area, sort of say, okay, they split and stayed in certain parts, but if there was trouble, they did still used to join up. I think the other reason that they were so successful so quickly is that a lot of the other males, like there was a coalition called the Shores males and whatnot, were sort of really pushing towards the end of their tenure. They were over 10 years old, 11 years old. So when they did come in, it was a bit easier for them. They didn't sort of have to compete with lions who are sort of 6 or 7 and really in their prime. Looks like they're definitely enjoying the breeze, which is keeping the flies away from them. Good morning, Bear from Canada. Excuse me. Bear would like to know whether male lions hunt on their own. And yes, they do, Bear, quite frequently. They spend a lot of time away from the lionesses, and they do get hungry when they're not with the girls. But when they are with the girls, being a male lion, an opportunist, he will take the easiest way to get a meal. So if the lionesses can kill for them, they will eat first, and often sometimes finish the carcass before the lionesses or the cubs get a chance to eat anything. But when they are away from the prides, they do hunt by themselves, because they do spend a lot of their time patrolling their territory and boundaries. So they do hunt by themselves quite frequently. It's getting a bit hot. So there we go, you can see the wound on the one on the left, on its front right paw, as he rolled over there. Good morning, Carolyn in Chicago. Carolyn says, well, she's seen domestic cats and dogs sort of run or dream in their sleep, and she wanted to know if wild animals do this too. Very much so, Carolyn. I have seen lions and leopards do it, and even hyenas, but it seems to be far more common in younger animals, so cubs, and but it occasionally does happen to older animals as well. And the reason we see lions rolling, or actually, and leopards, they roll over quite frequently, is more to do with that patch of ground that they were lying on has got a bit warm and they're getting hot, so they'll roll over to a slightly cooler patch of ground. Good morning, Diane from Michigan. Diane's got a very interesting question for us this morning, and she would like to know whether are lion populations stable, or are there species that is of some concern. Diane, at the moment lions are of a very big concern. The area we're in at the moment, not so much. They're quite stable in the Kruger and the surrounding private reserves. But in other parts of Africa, lions are under a very big threat, and actually their populations have dropped incredibly fast over the last 50 years, and they've probably been removed from close on 80% of their original range. I think, for example, there's only 20 or 25 lions left in Nigeria, and that is a non-viable breeding population, because you will get inbreeding. The biggest threat to lions is probably loss of habitat to agriculture and urbanization, which puts them into contact with domestic animals and people, and which is generally always ends very badly for the lions. And then I know in Kenya they also the population has declined quite a lot in the last 20 years from human predator conflict. Specifically with the Maasai tribe, and must remember, up into I think it might have been up into the 40s or 50s, for a Maasai warrior to become a man, he had to go kill a lion with a spear. That has been stopped now, so he's got hot, and he's probably going to go look for another piece of shade. doesn't look very happy about the heat. So that's the one with the wound, which is the first male we saw. There's a nice bit of shade behind us. Let's see if he goes to that. But yes, lions, there's probably only around 20,000 wild lions left in Africa at the moment. The one positive thing about lions is that they do breed very quickly if the conditions are right. So they can bounce back, and they have got very short gestation periods. And as the predators go, they have got a higher success rate at raising cubs, although they do have a high mortality rate, but that is common through all predators. But they have a slightly higher success rate in raising young. Can you see where that guy went, Andrew? I can't see.
It's negative.
He's
I think he's probably just here.
behind us somewhere. And so it looks like he's gone lay down. There's a nice tree behind us, and he's gone to lie down there. I think the other gentleman here has got enough shade for another good probably 20 minutes before he gets too hot. So
I have a question.
And yes, Andrew has a question.
I'm asking a lot of questions today. So
No problem.
I know with leopards you get different various subspecies of leopards. With lions,
That's a very interesting one. The subspecies question, and there's a lot of scientists who'd probably pop you on the head. I've been fortunate enough to actually know one of the scientists who's pretty much he's been doing genetic work on lions for about 25-30 years, and from Namibia through Botswana into South Africa and East Africa, and they talk about the subspecies of lion like Barbary lion and trying to see if that's not him. The Barbary lion, which used to be in North Africa, Morocco and places like that, and the Cape lion that used to occur in the Western Cape of South Africa, and the Karoo specifically in the dry, arid central area. Both of those lions were sort of very famous for having really big manes, and the manes extending all the way under their belly, almost to the groin. And with genetics these days, and being able to test old, as long as the skins haven't been too deteriorated, old sort of skins and trophies from up to 100 years ago, the majority of lion scientists now will say there's only one subspecies of lion, and that would be the Asiatic lion, which occurs in the Gir forest in India. But that is also coming under dispute at the moment. It's quite a hot topic amongst lion scientists, especially since India is not really letting outsiders do any genetic work on those lions. But generally, those different subspecies of lions with the longer manes, bigger manes, lack of manes, are more than likely just local variations, so local adaptations. Like certain people have darker skin because they have more melanin in their skin because they spend more time or were from a warmer area where you had to have more defense against the sun. Whereas people who live in colder climes and don't have to deal with the sun that much generally have a paler skin. And obviously with people it's a bit difficult now because we have migrated and mixed throughout the world. But so those they're more sort of local adaptations rather than being a complete subspecies. Now back to the Asiatic lion, there's a new theory that's come out in the last couple of years because of the sort of sultans and maharajas of India of old were very famous for collecting animals, and they had giraffe and all sorts of things that they'd been caught in Africa and brought across to India for the palaces, for the shows and stuff like that. So there is a possibility, I'm not 100% sure, that the Asiatic lion population is possibly sort of escaped or released African lions that were taken over for the circuses in the age of the Maharaja. But I mean, historically, I mean, lions occurred through France, Spain, Portugal. So I mean, it is possible that that Indian population is a distinct subspecies, and they have been separate from Africa long enough that there would be possibly some genetic markers that are different. But I watch that very closely. It'll be very interesting to find out whether it is a distinct subspecies or whether it is just escapees or releasees from sort of the age of the Maharaj. Okay, so guys, I think we're gonna move along. We'll definitely try catch up with these guys this afternoon, but I really don't see too much action happening from here. So I hope you guys enjoyed the lions, and hopefully we can find you something else. We're not reverse straight. We don't know if there's a lion sleeping behind us, so I'm going to do a big loop. See if we can spot the other male on the way out. Yeah, we just want to be careful that we don't drive up to one of these bushes we might be sleeping under and give them a fright. So I'm driving very slowly and having a look. Oh no, there he is, flat cat. So he's just off there, sleeping under that bush there. So he's just moved to a bigger patch of shade, and that should make sure he doesn't have to move as often. Okay guys, well, we're going to leave these two to sleep the rest of the day. We're definitely going to be coming through. So we have a quick look. There's some action happening that side. So, Scott.
Well, as you can see, things are really looking up here with Karula. She's at the base of the tree, and the closest she's been to it this morning. And will she start going up now? I'm fairly certain she will. So get ready with your screenshots, because this is going to be a great opportunity for all of you who enjoy screenshotting. And just in time, because we were concerned we were going to miss her feeding during the course of the day, but it looks like we're going to get lucky. There goes. Oh no. What has happened to my camera? Anyway, how beautiful was that, folks? And in just a split second, she was up that tree. Well done, Brian. Looks like you did a great job capturing that. And how beautiful seeing her up in this marula tree with the sunlight perfectly cast over her body. And this is what we've been waiting for all morning. It's been 2.5 hours. Look at that agility. And she may bring it down the tree to feed on it. Or she may reposition onto another branch. The reason why I say she might come down the tree with it is because it's easier to feed on the ground, and she knows she can simply hop back up very quickly if she needs to, if any hyena or any predators come onto the scene. But you can see she's assessing the situation around her now, making sure that if any hyena were lurking around, they haven't got her attention just yet, or they haven't been alerted by her movements. And like I say, I think she'll continue to just monitor the situation for a few more moments and then come down from this tree. It looks like a young steenbuck, not fully grown. But I could be wrong and be deceived by the fact that she has already fed on some of the carcass. And this certainly was worth waiting for. In perfect timing, I believe Brent was just about to leave the lion, who were fast asleep, so a sight like this is not a common one. How much longer will she need to check around to make sure there are no hyena lurking? She's almost standing here tempting any of them. It's like, if any of you are here, surely you would have come out by now to investigate the situation more closely. And if nothing does come any closer, she'll then be able to safely assume that she can take the risk of coming down from the tree. They don't always do this, and it's simply because the marula tree that she is in at the moment is not well suited to feeding and or comfort. It's quite thin and lacks comfortable thick horizontal branches. Most of the branches are quite angled. There's a white cloud that's come across the back of the shot, which would have made Brian have to possibly change a few settings, because there was an initially blue cloud behind her, which would have a very different impact on the total overall shot that we've been seeing. Here it goes. Wow, look at this. Absolutely incredible. And I'm surprised she's moving quite far from the tree, because the safest option would be for her to stay right at the base of this marula tree. Well, isn't this just fantastic? And just bear with me for a moment while I reposition. We stopped, and it's not far away, just in a shady little tree. So I think we might even be able to stop right here for now until we see what she does next. But this should work. How are you doing there, Brian? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
And what she's doing now is she's trying to pluck the fur from the kill, which she can do quite easily, it appears. It can be a little bit difficult for her to remove the fur from her mouth. It's easier for her to remove the fur from the animal's body than it is for her to get it out of her mouth, so you may see her shaking her head. She will continue to do this until there's a clear enough patch for her to be able to start feeding on the flesh. This afternoon in the same place. There you can see her battling to get all the fur out of her mouth. I'll go through the same motion, plucking the feathers from them. Brent, confirm somebody's trying to make their way to the sighting. Okay, copy, thanks. There's male lion. And not only has it been a great morning, but great prospects this afternoon. Those male lions shouldn't move far during the day, if at all. So almost a guaranteed sighting for the afternoon drive, and hopefully they'll become active this evening fairly early, and maybe, if we're very lucky, even roar for us. An interesting reposition that's just made. Feeds on now. She could well finish it all. This looks like or lack of hyena scenario at the moment in this sighting. Had we have not known that hyena on the scene of the kill last night, and we had have just arrived here this morning, we would hyena have no idea of this kill, and that would be false. And that's because you would, like I said earlier, you would expect them to linger around and come and try and get so much in any scenario that you witness out here. As you can see, she's very, very alert, as she should be, because it's not only hyena that should be concerned about, that could pose a threat to her directly, but more her kill, but other leopard, lion and wild dog. Meeting up with them could prove fatal, and that is why she needs to be so careful. If lion came into the scene, they would be attracted by the scent of the kill. But as soon as they saw the leopard, they would focus more on her and killing her as a competition, as opposed to feeding on the kill. Remaining blood or liquid in the chest cavity. Either that or she was actually licking the meat off the bones. Their tongues are very rough. It can help with them to almost sandpaper meat off the bone. Somebody from one of the surrounding tables hasn't come in to steal your meal. It's kind of the situation she's in. So apparently there's a few viewers who are interested to know where exactly this is all unfolding within the Djuma property. And for those of you who have access to a road or the map network of this area, we are basically south of Balanites Road, directly kind of midway between Impala Road Junction and Rebecca's Junction. So we in the central part of the reserve, on the western part, central and western. So in terms of north-south we are central, and in terms of east-west we are very close to our western boundary, probably a quarter of a mile. So I hope that helps you, give you an idea of where we are on the property. Because I've seen Karula so seldomly, this is quite far away from where I've ever seen her before. I've typically seen her very close to Vuyatela Dam on all the occasions that I have seen her. Interestingly enough, myself and Alex saw her on my first morning here, which was November the 23rd. She had killed a baby impala right outside the final control room. Well, right outside, probably 50 meters away, and had the kill hoisted in a marula tree. It's actually on the pathway that we walk along from where we sleep to the final control. And it was a bit of a surprise to see the impala killed up in the tree and then look around for a leopard and then see her staring at us. crunches through that bone. And that looks like she's actually gone for the...
Yep.
Great to monitor her progress on feeding through the skill, and know whether she actually does finish it before we head off, but we'll all just monitor how it goes in terms of time. Okay, copy. Thank you. Still quite a considerable portion of meat remaining. And I wonder if she's going to go ahead and finish it all. We've been extremely lucky how every time she's repositioned for feeding, it's always been good for the camera, allowing us not to have to reposition the vehicle. Oh, that must be a terrible feeling, having a mouthful of fur. She's used to it, I guess. I think Vuyatela Dam would actually possibly be the closest. And wouldn't it be wonderful if she does make her way there at some point? Because that'll mean she's heading back into the property. Because like I said a bit earlier, at the moment we are very close to our western boundary. Brian, what do you think? Do you think she's going to finish it all now?
I reckon. The rate she's going, she'll polish it off.
Okay. I tend to agree with Brian. On to the third leg. I'm not sure if there's one more, if she fed on one earlier, possibly last night. Or were there four from the get-go? We'll find out. I just remember, I think when she stood up earlier, it appeared that there was only one leg remaining on the sternbuck. Very bumpy. What happened? Sorry. Where has she gone? Oh, there she is, just in front of us. She's moving at quite a rate and moving in the right direction, thankfully. She is moving in an easterly direction back into Djuma. Very tricky conditions to film in, so Brian's probably going to wait for us to try and get into a position where we're stationary before he continues trying to stay on her, but she's just alongside us to the right. Just over half a tank. Sorry, Brian, she's ducked off. We both thought she was still in the same spot, but she's continuing to move.